Good evening. Good evening. Can everybody hear me at the back? I'd like to welcome you to this evening's book launch for Rob Taylor's latest book, Spirit of the Big Ditch, the story of the Welland Canals in pictures, poems, and songs. My name is Arden Fair, and on behalf of the Historical Society of St. Catharines, we're pleased that you could be with us. I understand there's a challenge finding enough parking out there, so that's a good thing for a book launch, I guess. It's difficult for us to ride, though. Hey, it's a standing ovation here already.
Yeah. Poor gunshots.
We're on the cusp of a special year, 2024, which marks 200 years since the turning of the sod ceremony for the channel and locks of the first Welland Canal. A modest effort of wood construction which would be dwarfed by today's modern ship canal of its concrete and steel. This publication could be considered a kickoff to upcoming bicentennial celebrations, which between now and 2029, 200th anniversary of the official opening, will be coordinated by St. Catharines Municipal Committee, chaired by Renee Ressler, and hopefully joined by the region's other canal communities who have yet to establish bicentennial committees. This will be a brief program, which I think we have some pretty interesting parts to it, with some of the performances of the works that actually appear in the book. And the material dates, part of our Welland Canal Song Heritage dates right back to that 1829 trip when the first ship went through the first Welland Canal. So it's some pretty early material. Before beginning, I would like to recognize some special guests. We have three St. Catharines City Councillors here, Mark Stevens, Bruce Williamson, and Carlos Garcia. So thank you for being part of this group. Also, one of our readers is here. In the book, of the dozens and dozens of poems and songs in there, there are only 5 living poets and 1 living songwriter. And Ennio, is Ennio here? Ennio Paula, who's one of our readers, so thank you very much for coming out, and you'll have to look up his, do your QR code scan of his work afterwards, because it's an amazing audio-visual presentation of his particular poem. Are there any others, any of the other reader songwriters here? Regrets from a number of the... And I think that Andrew's going to talk about some of the performance art people afterwards, and we have a number of those in attendance. One means by which our canal heritage has been brought to life in this particular publication is through the incorporation of QR codes that link the reader to the performance of a particular poem or song. These performances have been presented by a handful of the living poets, a songwriter, and contributions from a wide selection of community readers and volunteers. To start with, I'd like to introduce Peter Murray from Omni Media Productions, who did the readings of 3 of the works that appear in Spirit of the Big Ditch. Peter?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The poems and songs featured in the Spirit of the Big Ditch are derived from a variety of sources. This poem is actually the epitaph on a double gravestone for the MacArthurs in Victoria Lawn Cemetery. James MacArthur and his son James Campbell MacArthur were 2 of 10 workers that were killed on August 1st, 1928. It was the result of an accident when a gate at Lock 6 collapsed while under construction. Victims of Lock 6, New Welland Canal, attributed to James Stewart MacArthur. With broken heads and broken limbs, beneath this saw 2 sunny Jims await the call of Gabriel's horn, when all mankind shall be reborn. In life, they nobly played their parts and leave behind some aching hearts. Company Sergeant Major James MacArthur, 1867 to 1928. And the bandman was James Campbell MacArthur, 1892 to 1928.
Thank you, Peter, and if you'd like to see that gravestone, it is quite an interesting stone in Victoria Lawn Cemetery, the new section in the Veterans Plot of Victoria Lawn. There are many people to whom our gratitude should be extended in accomplishing what is now Rob Taylor's 8th book about the Welland Canal. Firstly, to Rob, who generously offered the manuscript to the Historical Society for publication. A committee of 6 then guided this project through to completion, who I'd now like to introduce all those individuals. First of all, Dennis Gannon, standing at the back of the room, local historian, president of the Historical Society, author of the Yesterday and Today series that's appeared in the St. Catharines Standard for the last 20 years. Dan Sunday, a director of the Historical Society and someone who, along with Dennis, has been with this project from its inception a couple of years back. John Bertniak, who's in the back here, a retired special collections librarian from Brock University, a person who's actively involved in many organizations and projects of historical and canal significance across the peninsula, and someone whose editorial expertise has been instrumental in the publication of this book, as well as John's been involved in dozens of others. Andrew Porteous, retired librarian of the Niagara Falls Public Library and the creator of the Niagara Falls Poetry Project. Plug that into Google sometime. It's an amazing website of hundreds of poems and songs that have been written about Niagara Falls. The Niagara Falls website was actually the foundation upon which Andrew developed a similar concept for the Historical Society of St. Catharines related to Spirit of the Big Ditch, which also incorporates a performance aspect through the use of the QR codes. Kevin McCabe has been preserving local works of poetry for decades. His Blarney Stone Press was responsible for the publication of Rob's first study of Welland Canal poems and songs, which was back in 2004. That modest volume was called Voices from the Great Ditch. As well, some of the content of some of his other Blarney Stone published books included Poetry of Old Niagara and Liddy Grohl's Lake to Lake, some of which, the content of some of which has been incorporated into Spirit of the Big Ditch. And myself, Arden Fair, I'm the 6th member of that committee. I wonder if you wouldn't mind, if just so people know the others involved, Andrew, Dennis, John, if you could stand, Kevin, Dan, there's Andrew over here, Dennis, John, I think, okay, thank you. I think probably, Dan's manning the sales table out front, and I imagine Kevin's over there as well. It is also appropriate to acknowledge the designer of the book, Irene Romanoli, and the printer, Nancy Potapchik, from Artista Design and Print Company in Niagara Falls. This was a pure Niagara effort that was designed locally, printed locally, bound locally. We're quite proud of that. It's now my pleasure to introduce Andrew Porteous, who will be providing an overview of the publication and representing Rob Taylor in his remarks. He'll also be expanding upon the QR code feature, which is very much a cutting-edge technology in books, as it brings new life to the written word. Andrew?
Thank you very much. Arden hides his light under a bushel as well. He's been so instrumental in all the stuff we've done. I think my email inbox has about 5,000 of them in the last week alone. It's the way we sort of have been communicating through them. Anyway, yeah, I was just asked to introduce the book, talk about it a bit, and also the QR code concept and what it means to the book itself. So firstly, and most importantly, thank you to all of the poets, songwriters, and artists, both living and dead, for writing, singing about, and using visual arts to depict the Welland Canals that appear in this volume. Many of the poems and songs were found by the editor and curator of this book, Rob Taylor, who has been researching the Welland Canals since about 1980. He's written a host of books and articles about the canal, and considered a leading expert on the canal. So many of the other poems and songs were contributed by other researchers, and in Rob's words, especially Arden Fair. Yeah. Now, I was distinctly told not to keep mentioning Arden, but he told me to take out references to him that I had written, but he also said he wanted quotes from Rob, so I figured that was an adequate quote that I could use. Yes, thank you. So, yeah. But without Arden pushing, this just wouldn't have happened. So, anyway, Rob also commented that the poets and songwriters record powerful personal experiences from either their imagination or in reality. They've imagined what it must have felt like to work on the digging of the Earl Ditch, or they have been stunned by the massive and complex technology involved in the canal's construction and operation, which is an experience of the technological sublime. Or they have worked on the boats traveling the waterworks, or the celebration of the achievement of connecting two of the Great Lakes. In short, the writer's motives are many. So I'd like to give a special shout out also to Stan Zruski for writing My Grand Canal about his childhood playing along the Welland Canal. And the reason I shout him out in particular is because he wrote this book particularly for this, he wrote that poem particularly for this book, for this volume. And he did perform it as well. Anyway, in addition, all of the performers that are here tonight, and who aren't here also, they brought a unique oral and visual dimension to this book project, which I'll come back to in a minute. So the Historical Society of St. Catharines is to be commended for being the first organization having an event for the bicentennial celebrations, which is this event of the canals. And secondly, for once again affirming that history resides not only in the non-fiction realm of dates and facts of major events and personalities, which are written about in so many scholarly tomes, but it also resides in the tradition of the poetry, songs, and visual arts of ordinary people that extends to well before the written word was invented. Arden Fair, who found many of these poems and songs in the research, became the project manager for this book. He so passionately believed in this project and overcame all sorts of obstacles, reminding the committee of their deadlines and committees each of us had made. And he deserves the credit for getting this book out in time to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the groundbreaking of the first Welland Canal. So I think we deserve a round of applause for that. That wasn't in the first draft I sent to him. So. Anyway, since I saw one of the early drafts of this book last summer, it has resonated with me. The impact of the canal economically, socially, and personally for me, and probably to most of you here, and the impact it's had on my adopted country, region, nation, and continent has been tremendous. Since I first came to Canada many years ago, I've lived for all of 3 years within 25 kilometers of the canal. If you'll indulge me in a brief moment of nostalgia, I'll bring it back to the book in a moment. So when I was a kid, I played on the banks of the 12 Mile Creek in the area where the first Welland Canal was planned to go, just downriver from DQ Falls. I also played and now take my grandchildren along with my wife to Lakeshore Park in St. Catharines, where the third Welland Canal met Lake Ontario. I've walked along the side of abandoned locks from the previous canals. I had high school friends who worked on the boats in the summer, which picked them up, I think, here at Lock 3, I think was one of the pickup points. And I know I drove a couple of them out here at times. One of them almost died in a fire that happened on his boat out in one of the lakes there as well. Now currently, I live just the other side of the canal, down a little bit, and I can look out of my the room where I wrote this and see the tops of the boats going above the orchards across the road. So seen these ships, and you can see them sailing up the canal. So those moving upstream to Port Colborne will soon pass the house where Rob Taylor lived when he became infatuated with the canal and started doing Hall's research. He also could see the top of the ships from the house he lived in at that point. Moving on, you come up to the Loch 3, St. Catharines Museum, and the Welland Canal centres. And you can also see the Welland Canal Fallen Workers Memorial just down there. Now, moving further upstream, this imaginary ship passes my daughter's house. But she can't see the ships going by from her house. She has to walk down the street to the crossroads, and she can see it from the street there. The ship then moves on to Port Colborne and enters into Lake Erie. And that area I used to sail in. I used to try and keep away from where the ships went out when I was involved in Sea Cadets a number of years ago. And I've been over every one of the road bridges over the canal. I've been over one of the railroad bridges and under all of the tunnels, and I have spent many, many, many hours waiting for those gosh damn bridges to lower. Anyway, I mention all these to help illustrate the impact the canal has had on myself and all of us here, and how they are documented in the book. Howard Engel wrote in his poem, that meritorious work, The Welland Canal, about playing on the 12-mile creek, just across the creek from where I used to play as a kid as well. Charles Burroughs mentions in his poem, Port Dalhousie, the beach in Port Dalhousie, its attraction to tourists as a tourist destination, illustrated with a photograph that was a time period that could have had me in it. And I too, perhaps, on moonlit evenings, swapped sweet saliva out on the pier, as he mentioned this in his poem. I'm not telling them. Robert Shipley writes about walking along the banks of the abandoned canals, which many of us have done previously as well. The book also pays tributes to the fallen workers who died building the Welland Canals, but it also pays tributes to those who died on the boats plying the canal and the Great Lakes, and also the people who died in tragic accidents along the canals, such as the 3 young boys who were killed after a steamer smashed through the gates of Lock 22 of the 3rd Canal. Died Tiffany, Drowned at Thorold, consists of 2 short poems, one taken from the obituary and the other from the memorial card of one of the young boys. In addition to the role of the book in memorializing what was a major catastrophic event in the lives of these families, but was a minor event on the global scale, it could also be said in the local scale, it is also a minor event, but it does commemorate it, and it gives a piece of history that would otherwise not be there. It also shows how the researchers of this did such a good job of going and finding all these things. You know, they spent countless hours in the archives and libraries going through things. And the important part of it is that they also share the information. So Arden shared with Rob. I know I personally get emails from Arden, from Kevin, from Dennis all the time when they find poems relating to Niagara Falls also. But this memorial card that I was talking about sort of fascinates me. The end of it ends, "Short was thy life, my darling son, but peaceful is thy rest. And Grandma missed you most of all because she loved you best." What? I can't imagine writing something like that on a memorial card. Oh yeah, Grandma loved him best, and all this. So it just fascinates me. Anyway, the title of the book, The Spirit of the Big Ditch, was taken from the Great Saint's Medal, which is a poem written by Jimmy Loftus. And he wrote, "The spirit of the big ditch held young and old in thrall. The men often whined, 'We cannot,' but the spirit said, 'Ye shall.'" Now, if I sort of relate that to my life over the last 6 months or so, The men could conceivably be our committee who kept saying, oh, I don't know if we'll ever do that again. And the spirit of the big bitch would be Arden, who cajoled and encouraged us to get working on it until its fruition tonight. He's not looking very pleased here. Anyway, not long after I was brought on board to index this book, I was sitting on our back patio sipping a cider and reading an early draft of it. I came to the section that includes the lyrics of 4 songs by Alex Sinclair. I recognized him as a Canadian folk singer, and I wondered if there was a recording of them online. So I got out my phone and did a Google search, and sure enough, all 4 songs were online. And there it was. So I'm listening to the songs, reading the lyrics. It was giving a different dimension to the experience of reading the poems. So I thought about suggesting that we put links in, but it would sort of interrupt the flow of reading if you had to type in a website address every time you wanted to look at one of these poems. So it would be very clumsy. So I pondered it for a few minutes and then realized that the quick response codes, or QR codes, would be a lot more easier and direct to use. So I used the QR code generator and ran off a few, and they worked delightfully. It was very easy to pull up these poems using this code. So I suggested to Arden that perhaps we could incorporate these into the book, and by doing so increase my workload by a considerable amount. Anyway, so the QR codes, if you're not familiar with them, they're in a square, and there's a series of squares and dots and other shapes, and they carry a lot of information in them that a smartphone can read, and then it will open up your browser and take you to the website there. So as you're reading it, in the book, at the bottom of the page, there's a QR code. You can just hold your phone camera over it, and it should open up the poem for you. So anyway, they're being used in art books and textbooks to get supplemental material in there. I discovered that they had been used in poetry books since about 2012 was the first one I found, but not very often. And there's actually a couple of interesting twists on how they use them as well. Anyway, I emailed Arden to suggest using QR codes in the songs, and he was totally enthusiastic and brought it to the committee where they decided that we would try doing that. And so that's where we started. So the committee agreed that we would do this. It took the whole project to a new dimension and made it a multimedia experience instead of just a book type of experience. Anyway, so we knew there were these songs out there that the performers had done. Someone had the bright idea of perhaps recording the ones that weren't already online. I'm not sure whose idea that was, but I think it was mine. Putting them in. Now, in order to do that, though, we need a place to house the QR codes where they link to. So we decided we could, the Historical Society offered us use of their website to use part of the website to link to, so that these codes could go in there and be permanent and be used all the time. So anyway, so kudos to the Society again for being so willing to help with this project. Anyway, so I have no idea where I'm here. Anyway, so on page 108 of the book, there is also a separate QR code, and this one goes to the website that we developed, and all of the poems that are performed by the volunteers are on that, as well as being in the book itself. It will also be used for supplemental material because there's a lot of stuff that can make it into the book. So we're going to put that in as well, including some of the poems and songs that we know about. Anyway, so the book itself, now you can read it, get your QR code, listen to it, see a performance of it. I was just flabbergasted by the amount of enthusiasm for our performers and some of the performances are just absolutely outstanding in that. So I would like to acknowledge the performers who recited, sang, and put in a full theatrical performance. Geographically, most of them are in this area, but we do have a guy from St. John's, Newfoundland, who did some, and also Leni Grohl's niece, who lives in somewhere in the Netherlands. So anyway, I'm just going to read out the people that I know are here tonight, and then we'll ask them to stand. So in attendance tonight are Guy Bannerman, Maya Bannerman, Keith Inman, David McKenzie, Rusty McCarthy, Peter Murray, Ennio Piola, Armin Romagnoli, Irene Romagnoli, Brenda Schultz, Louise Waldy, happens to also be my wife, and Stan's brother Tom Strzelewski, I believe, is here tonight. So if you would stand, people I just called out. If anybody's here that I didn't know it's here, please stand up. So thank you very much. People just stepped forward right away and took it on enthusiastically, and it's been a wonderful experience working with you. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you enjoy the book, and let us know how you like the QR code thing. We do have a page on Goodreads, so you can leave your comments on there as well. I'd appreciate that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Excellent overview of the book, and we'll talk later about all those references to Arden. So, when you mentioned about catching the bridge in there, one of the interesting things in terms of poetry and songs that are available out there, there have been 5 different plays written about the Welland Canal since the 1930s, and each one of those plays by noted playwrights like David McKenzie and others have a number of songs in them, of course, so there's a whole volume 2 waiting to be done. So we'll start lining you up and getting you tuned up for the next round. So, and one of the songs that I couldn't convince Rob to put in there was about catching the bridges. And I thought, if you live in Niagara, you know the experience of catching the bridges. Now I'd like to introduce Guy Bannerman, who will do his recitation of one of the poems from the canal, from the book St. Catharines. Shine.
Thanks, Arden. This is a poem that has a somewhat mysterious title until we thought about it a bit, because these are the words that are written about the poem, St. Catharines Shun. And I'm going to give a little background to the canal, but this poem also has some language in it that we probably wouldn't use today, but we've chosen to be true to the spirit of the times so that we can see where we have come from. So this was written by a person who calls himself Scribe of NB, New Brunswick perhaps? So here's a little background information. The official opening of the Welland Ship Canal in 1932 attracted nationwide, indeed worldwide attention. It was an economy and morale boosting occasion during the depths of the Great Depression, as well as an initial step in the development of the St. Lawrence Seaway, the great swivel link in that system. Sensing its importance, this anonymous local poet reminds us of the pride many Canadians felt in belonging to the British Empire and proud of their great new waterway. St. Catharines, shut! On Saturday next, we will be privileged to see the men who make empire. So let us all be ready and eager to welcome these guests to our hospitality, St. Catharine's best. They've come a long way, British, Irish, Hindus, to help us to conquer depression and blues. So get out your flags and wave them on high. So let's give them something to remember us by. All our stores must cooperate, their bunting to display, and second-story windows flying empire flags so gay. As these heroes of commerce from the empire's far domain mingle here a while among us, a great honor we attain. We are proud to have them with us and are glad to let them know that the Garden City's people are as loyal as they go. And we hope that some little thing may happen to them here to strengthen the Empire friendship, something we hold very dear.
Thank you, Guy. Everybody awake now? It's what 35 years at Shaw Festival will be. Next part of the program, we are most grateful to our community partners who saw value in this project and who, through their financial support, enabled it to move forward. Dennis, if you could come forward.
Happened to Dennis.
He's way back.
We can see him behind the shed.
He's easy to see.
Yes. It's very helpful.
Got me.
Oh, there it is.
I'm going to ask each of the sponsors to come forward one at a time for a presentation by Historical Society President Dennis Gannon, each to be followed by their remarks. First of all, the Ontario Paper Thorold Foundation, Susan Birch, President, just elected President and Chair.
Thank you very much.
Not sure how to follow up on that last one. Oh, thank you. Hello, my name is Sue Birch, and I'm the president and chair of the Ontario Paper Thorold Foundation. The foundation was established in 1958 as part of the Ontario Paper Company, located in Thorold South, built in 1912 by the Chicago Tribune Company. The company relied heavily on the Welland Canal. We had a fleet of ships that transported our product to northeastern United States and all parts of Canada. We also used to bring all our raw material from the canal. And the mill unfortunately had to shut down in 2016 after 104 years of operation. The foundation has been independent from the company for over 25 years. And since then, we've contributed over $4 million to the Niagara community. Our four areas of focus are education, community service, health, and environment. The foundation was happy to contribute to this publication as it is part of our history. And for more information about our foundation, you can visit our website, ontariopaperthoroldfoundation.org. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call upon Sam Payne, the Government and Community Relations Officer, speaking on behalf of the Seaway, and Jean-Audrey Morin, the Vice President of External Relations.
We offer this to you with pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This up here. So I'm actually the guy who gets all those bridge complaints. So maybe put a face to an anonymous name or the website. Yes, we do have to lift 2 bridges in a row sometimes. Sorry about that. So I just want to say thank you to Professor Taylor. I know he's not here tonight, but thank him for compiling this valuable work of history. Thanks to Mr. Fair and all the members of the St. Catharines Historical Society for all the work that you do. And thanks to the St. Catharines Museum and Welland Canal Center staff for hosting us this evening and for making history accessible and engaging for the public. So at the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation, we're very happy to support this project since we're the modern day stewards of William Hamilton Merritt's ditch. We've come a long way from the time Mr. Merritt worked out how to get more water to his mills on the 12-mile creek by dreaming up the Welland Canal. He was a visionary, and he would no doubt appreciate the upgrades we've brought to his canal, like remote operation, digital systems, and hands-free mooring. All of those are at play here at Lock 3 if you go out on the viewing platform, controlled by our people in the control center and the ops center in our Glendale headquarters. This technology helps to make the St. Lawrence Seaway a reliable, resilient, green shipping corridor for the 21st century. And 200 years later, the Welland Canal is part of a waterway that links the heart of North America to the world, moving the goods that drive our economy. When Quebec trade along the St. Lawrence River is factored in, 252 million metric tons of raw materials and finished goods passed through our waterway in 2022. That includes agricultural goods, construction materials, energy, and steelmaking products, supporting 355,000 jobs, generating $30 billion in wages, and $66.1 billion in economic activity in Canada. That's worth celebrating. So here's to the spirit of the Big Ditch and another 200 years of Welland Canal history. Thank you very much.
And lastly, from the Marine Club, if I could ask Kyle Richardson to come forward, please.
Mr. Richardson, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you. It's certainly a privilege to be here this evening. Just a little bit on the Marine Club itself. We're a nonprofit organization, and what we do is support and promote the marine industry. And through what we call our Good Works program, our Good Works Committee, we contribute and distribute $50,000 or more each year to various organizations. And that includes sponsorships for cadets that are in marine engineering and navigation. It also includes financial support to sea cadets and brigs and mission to seafarers. And of course, we are delighted to have supported this literary work that is such a significant representation of such an integral part of the Great Lakes marine industry. So thank you and congratulations to all of those contributors to this work.
And I would like to mention something very important because of the generous support received from these three community organizations. We were able to donate copies of the book to all of the secondary schools along the canal corridor for both the District School Board of Niagara and the Niagara Catholic District School Board. So thank you very much. Each of the performances associated with Spirit of the Big Ditch is a unique interpretation of the words of past and present poets and songwriters. Maya Bannerman and Rusty McCarthy took the project to a whole new level with a musical score to the poetic words, instrumentation, and video clips. I'm pleased to ask them to come forward to perform their version of The Strike on the New Welland Canal, originally written in the 1870s during construction of the third Welland Canal.
There are a lot of verses, so that means there's a lot of paper to read from. Sort of is this microphone on?
No.
So, hello. Hello, Keith. I see you there, poet extraordinaire. I kind of thought of Woody Guthrie when we came up with the music for this song, though of course that's a different era, but I just had that feeling of Woody Guthrie. I'll put my spectacles on so we don't miss a word of this. Rusty will get the guitar in true force. I was very thrilled that Andrew first approached us about this. Looking for a pick now?
No. I'm going au naturel.
All right. Come all you navvy boys who work on Canadian soil, I call your kind attention to these lines I write. Attention, pay, lend an ear to what I'm gonna say of the glorious turnout in Thurl the 1st of May. It was early in the morning, a meeting we did call. The Swedes most up in number, they gave a loud hurrah.
Hurrah!
They took their stand on the bridge across the Welland Road. Such a lot of jolly fellows I never saw before. Come on, you navvy boys on Canadian soil, I call your kind attention to this mournful tale.
Upstate are a contractor, his name is John Brown. And when he saw the turnout, like a bear he did growl. Boys, you have done me wrong, the strike you all shall rue. For I will pay no wages before the 1st of June.
We called our men to order and formed them in a line. We put them through their exercise in military style. The Union Jack we hoisted, the bagpipes they did call, and through the streets of Thurl we did march one and all. Come on, you navvy boys on Canadian soil, call your kind attention to this mournful tale. You might hear tell of Waterloo or the Battle of Inkerman. It was nothing like the charge we made along the old canal.
On the 2nd day of May, John Brown he came along with money in his pocket to pay off every man. He called our attention to a notice on the door. Whoever draws his money shall work for me no more. Now to conclude and finish, I mean to end my song. I'm going to leave the new canal, and that's before it's long. Come on, you navvy boys on Canadian soil, I call your kind attention to this mournful tale. Come on, you navvy boys on Canadian soil, I call your kind attention to this mournful tale. Hey, yeah!
Thank you, totally awesome.
Now you're all anxious to get your QR reader out, aren't you? See the online performance. Many individuals have contributed to this project, from its initial review stages, editing, layout, printing, marketing, distribution, and tonight's book launch. I would now like to personally thank and acknowledge 2 individuals who, without their considerable efforts, today would not have happened. First of all, Andrew Porteous. Devoted untold hours to the QR code concept. He made reference that maybe he shouldn't have been so hasty in offering this, because it was a lot of work, as you can appreciate, developing this entire concept from start to finish. And dealing with a committee of real Luddites, excuse me if I lump the rest of the other 5 of us in with this, as Andrew would talk about URLs and QR codes, and we're getting all glazy-eyed. But he carried it through. He had that knowledge of how to marry this technology with a printed, published word. It really has added so much to the project. Plus, he took on the indexing job, which is a huge job, and we have deadlines to meet with Irene and the designer and the printer, and just did an amazing job. The other person who deserves acknowledgement is our designer, Irene Romanoli. The layout demands of this book are sizable, and she committed to having it ready by Guy Fawkes Day, which she did, and it was just a number of weeks. And believe me, when you work with Arden, it can be a challenging task sometimes with trying to get things perfect. And Irene, I can't thank you enough again for a stellar job that you did on this. Few designers could have accomplished this book to this standard in that short a period of time. So if both of you could please come forward for a moment, please. Andrew, Irene. Tremendous people to work with. Now, getting down to thanks, special thanks again to all of the performers who added to the book, and particularly those for their presentations this evening: Peter Murray, Guy Bannerman, Maya Bannerman, and Rusty McCarthy. And to Rusty, who was doing musical performances from his album Great Lakes Nocturnes leading up to the performance, which again you can find on YouTube. I would encourage you to check out all the performances by scanning the QR codes in the book or logging on to the Historical Society website. They're all worth listening to. Also thanks to others, Kevin McCabe and his family for arranging the refreshments this evening. Please stay. They're over in the off of the lobby, so there's still lots of food and beverage there. And last but not least, to our other Historical Society volunteers who assisted in various parts of this evening: Dan Sunday and Rochelle Bush at the sales table, Roger Bradshaw at the reserve books table and doubling as our photographer, Dennis Gannon for a multitude of tasks fulfilled in preparing for this evening. So thank you to all of you. And if you'd like to learn more about Spirit of the Big Ditch, mark on your calendar the Historical Society meeting of Thursday, September 26, 2024, which will feature an in-depth presentation by Andrew about the content and various aspects of Spirit of the Big Ditch. Furthermore, he's been selected as one of the presenters on the same topic at the Popular Culture Association Conference in Chicago in March of 2024. Now, we're almost done, but one last thing. Can you please humor me? I want to try a bit of tech history here with the first ever QR code poetry group reading. Okay? Now, this isn't meant to be in sync. I want everybody to pull out your smartphone. Okay, everybody got their phones out? Now I gotta figure out how to use this. Where's my wife? I wasn't kidding before when I said I'm a Luddite. I lost my flip phone about a month ago, which I've had for 15 to 20 years. I'm totally beside myself without this piece of technology.
The flip phone works for me.
Yeah. There's our other flip phone devotee on the committee. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're all set long before me. And what we're going to do, however you log on to QR codes, some of you use a camera, some have a QR code app, which I understand. We're talking techie here. So if you could get ready to scan in the book, you can pick any one of the poems you'd like, or what makes it very easy, if you go to that page 108 that Andrew had spoken about before, you can actually go onto the Historical Society website, and it will have all of the poems on there. Pick one of those. Now don't start playing it yet till I give everybody the code.
Play all different ones at once.
Okay. Is everybody all set? So have you scanned your QR code? Okay, are you ready at the play point? And I'm going to do a countdown. Does anybody need any more time? Pick any QR code, doesn't matter. Does who's ready? Oh, there's a whole bunch ready. Okay, we'll charge ahead then. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, play. So, are you all set?
Turn up your volume. Won't be real messy.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Everybody play. Turn the volume up.
Think about it.
Okay, we'll
Actually,
close that
how
out.
poetry sounds to people who don't like
It
it.
sort of worked. Sort of worked. If you're part of a piece of Niagara history here, the first ever Niagara poetry reading, give yourselves a pat in the back. Now, I heard over here, I don't know if it was Sandra who had Mary Shanahan.
Yeah, we both had the same one.
Same one. My favorite song on here. This was recorded by, where's Gary Oblinski? Gary here? Gary recorded this with Mary Shanahan in Chatelaine Villa. She was in her 70s and had a whole variety of songs that she remembered from her parents, and she sang this, and I love that song. It just has such character. So Mary Shanahan, you should listen to that.
Can I say something about that song?
Sure.
I have numerous copies of it, and every time she sang those songs, it was slightly different. And basically, she only knew 2 songs from start to finish. But she was very old, and I insisted, I was part of the Canada Works project, and I insisted that they save and archive the reel that we recorded it by.
So this is like 55 years ago. Gary still has it, like an archivist. Thanks so much, and thank you. Please stay, enjoy the refreshments. Tell your friends and family about Spirit of the Big Ditch. Available from the Historical Society online, or if you see Dennis or Dan, you can get copies from them. It's also in the museums, in the gift shops at museums in Niagara-on-the-Lake, St. Catharines, and Port Colborne. So thank you for coming out, and I hope you enjoyed the evening. Thank you.